The 23rd of March will be the date we'll conduct all pending supplementary elections.
INEC presents certificate of return to elected candidates of the last National Assembly election.
At least we've been able to bring out about 53 people.
It on Lagos collapsed building, 16 feared dead, 53 rescued alive.
The end of AIDS as a public health threat by 2030.
Federal government restates commitment to end the threats of HIV and AIDS by the year 2030. Plus, ECOWAS Chairman President Muhammadu Buhari dispatches special envoy to Republic of Benin for the country's parliamentary election. Hello there, thanks for joining us on NTA Network News tonight. I am Joseph Johnson in Abuja. Also reading with me tonight is Hingunu John Adams from our Lagos Network Center. Now, 101 senators-elect have been presented with certificates of return by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. This follows the conclusion of elections in those senatorial districts. Mayor Ogidi reports.
From the entrance down to the main hall of the International Conference Center, Abuja, it's all celebrations and taking of selfies as the victorious ones receive their tickets to the Red Chamber of the National Assembly from the INEC. Out of the 109 senators elect, 8 senators are yet to be presented with certificates of return. 7 are to conduct supplementary elections, while Imo West Senatorial District is pending as the results were allegedly announced under duress.
Pending a supplementary, we fix a date. The 23rd of March will be the date we'll conduct all pending supplementary elections.
So, for now, APC is smiling to the Senate with 63 senators, PDP 37 and YPP 1. Both returning and fresh senators are going to the National Assembly with well-cut-out agenda.
This time around, we want a relationship that will be properly characterized between the legislature and the executive, characterized by consultation, by coordination, by partnership.
By the grace of God, we are going to make our mark.
My major concern will be how to perfect the electoral process to make it a little hitch-free and rancor-free for our people.
We would like to see how we can transform Nigeria football, looking at English Premier League as a test case.
The political climate in Rivers State is uncertain as the state elections and the 2 senatorial supplementary elections were suspended by the INEC following alleged violence and violation of electoral rules. But latest information from INEC shows a ray of hope.
Yeah, the committee returned yesterday from Rivers, so we hope to take the report tomorrow. And there is also another committee who have dispatched to Bauchi. They too will submit their own report, and then we'll take this report together.
INEC is not an island, so Professor Mahmoud Yakubu is pleading with the 9th National Assembly to work out a legal framework in deepening the electoral process ahead of 2023 general elections. Mayor Ogidi, NTA News.
Meanwhile, members of the House of Representatives have also received their certificates of return. Here again is Mayor Ogidi with a report.
4,680 of them went to the polls to secure 360 green seats, and at the end, these are the lucky ones. Out of the 360, 316 were presented with the instrument of power, while 24 are slated for supplementary elections, and 20 certificates of return are in INEC custody following ongoing court litigations.
For those whose certificates have been prepared but they are not around to collect, the Commission will arrange for them to collect the certificates from the supervising national commissioners for their respective states in our offices. And for others, we'll sort things out later.
Lawmaking, no doubt, is tasking. So, how prepared are they?
We are representing the people.
what our people want, that we should be our command. And by God's grace, we believe that what transpired in 2015 and the 8th Assembly will not happen this time around by this.
To sponsor a bill that will tend to address the issues of internal democracy in our political system.
Support the government in any drive for good governance, make good laws.
I'm sure the members will work very well together and will produce leaders in the Assembly that will do well for Nigeria.
So far, I have enjoyed cooperation from men of my federal constituency, and I want to believe same is going to happen at the House too.
It wouldn't have anything to do with the gender. I want to believe everybody will be given the opportunity to represent their people. That's what we have come here to do.
The cases of inconclusive elections are now the talk of the day, but the INEC boss seems not worried.
Electoral Act is very clear. Section 26 deals with violence. Section 53 talks about overvoting. Where that occurs, and the total number of registered persons in places where voting does not take place is in excess of the margin of lead, the Commission shall fix another date for the election. So what we have done is consistent with the provisions of the law.
The elections are gradually coming to an end, but so many issues are still lingering on for public discourse. Mie Ogide, NTA News.
Away from that now, President Muhammadu Buhari says the governing All Progressives Congress is determined to introduce a more robust program of action in the next level towards responding to genuine public aspirations and sustaining its presence in all parts of the country. The president stated this while receiving in audience a high-powered delegation from the Borgu Kingdom led by the Emir of Borgu, Mohammed Haliru Danturu. State House correspondent Adam Sambo has the report.
The delegation comprising Borgu people from Niger, Kebbi, Kwara and Kishi in Oyo State was in the State House to felicitate with the president on his re-election for another term in office. President Buhari, who thanked the people for the visit, expressed the belief that his victory at the polls is a clear demonstration of appreciation by Nigerians for his commitment to a greater Nigeria. Such commitment, he promised, will not only be sustained but enhanced in the next level as part of deliberate efforts towards guaranteeing sustainable future for the citizenry as well as generations yet unborn. The president, who noted the various requests made by the people of Borgu, assured them of favorable response by government within the limits of available resources.
The infrastructure you mentioned in your constituencies, I assure you that I will try and do what I can, and that since I'm going to be around, God willing, for the next 4 years, I have made a promise. The ministers responsible to comply.
The Emir of Borgu, Mohammed Haliru Danturu, told the president that the entire people of Borgu Kingdom appreciated his resilience in championing the cause for public good as well as stable and prosperous Nigeria.
The stage is now set for Nigeria's fullest potentials and best talents to be unleashed for meaningful change. Mr. President, we humbly urge you not to be detracted in redeeming the battered image of our country in the areas of corruption, insecurity, and poverty.
The Emir thanked the president for the recent award of contract for the construction of New Busa Kayama Road, which he described as an open sore on the conscience of the nation.
By Excellency's singular award of this life-changing road project, the endless tears of our people in the past generations have at least been wiped from our faces. We and our people yet unborn are grateful beyond words.
Borgu Kingdom also made a case for, amongst others, the creation of Borgu State, establishment of export-oriented processing factories, international border market, and naval formation along the banks of Kayenji Lake, as well as the strengthening of Hyperdeck to tackle the unique challenges facing Borgu and other communities hosting hydroelectric installations. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The Foursquare Gospel Church in Nigeria has congratulated President Muhammadu Buhari on the renewal of his mandate by the Nigerian electorate during the recent presidential election. In a statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, the General Overseer, Reverend Felix Medwoye, on behalf of the Board of Directors, leadership and entire worshippers of Foursquare Gospel Church in Nigeria, said the President's victory is a testimony of God's divine providence over his life. He commended the administration for providing the enabling environment for a generally peaceful and successful election. He urged the President to see the renewal of his mandate as a call from all Nigerians to marshal the growth, unity and stability of the country. A state high court sitting in Yola has granted an interim injunction restraining INEC from conducting the March 23rd supplementary governorship election in Adamawa State for excluding a logo of a political party on the governorship ballot paper during the March 9 governorship election. Abubakar Haman reports.
The injunction is as a result of ex parte motion filed before the court by a political party, Movement for the Restoration and Development of Democracy, MRDD, seeking the court to grant an interlocutory injunction restraining INEC from conducting the supplementary with regard to the supplementary governorship election in Adamawa State. The party is also demanding for justice from the court by ordering the cancellation of the governorship elections held on 9th of March to enable INEC place the logo of the party on ballot papers. In his ruling on the application, Justice Abdul Aziz Waziri, who granted the application of the plaintiff, ordered INEC to restrain from proceeding with the conduct of the supplementary election in Adamawa State pending the hearing and determination of the interlocutory injunction application before the court. Justice Waziri also ordered for immediate communication to INEC on the ruling and adjourn hearing and determination of the case to 21st March. In Yola, Abubakar Hamman.
And following the threats by members of the opposition in Benin Republic to boycott the parliamentary elections scheduled for April 28, ECOWAS Chairman President Muhammadu Buhari has dispatched his special envoy, Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyema, to meet with President Patrice Talon. Foreign Desk correspondent Makut Simon Machan reports from Cotonou.
Benin Republic has been undergoing political reforms aimed at strengthening its democratic practice. The reforms include registration of new political parties under a new law that requires vetting by the Ministry of Interior and SINA, the electoral management body. Ahead of the parliamentary elections set for April 28th, only few parties have been registered, which has caused some uproar and threat of boycott from the opposition. This is why ECOWAS Chairman President Muhammadu Buhari dispatched his special envoy, Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyema, to Benin Republic to meet with President Patrice Talon. In company of the President of the ECOWAS Commission, Jean-Claude Brome, the minister met President Patrice Talon behind closed doors, after which they spoke to NTA News.
And we had excellent discussions with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Benin and with the President of the Republic. And, we're very happy. There's a lot of flexibility, openness that the President has, indicated. And so it was a very good mission. We conveyed the message of President Muhammadu Buhari.
My president was happy to receive this message from his brother. He explained the whole thing to my colleague. And what is also important here is that President Talon is an open-minded person.
President Talon also used the opportunity of the visit to congratulate President Muhammadu Buhari on his re-election. From Cotonou in Benin Republic, Makut Simon Machan, NTA News.
Well, do stay with us here on NTA Network News as we pause for a break now. The news returns shortly with more reports from Lagos.
So, how do I look, guys?
Aha!
What?
I see what's wrong. The wall doesn't match your elegance.
Then we must do something about it right away.
At Royal Ceramics, we offer you a wide range of beautiful wall and floor tiles designed specially to fit your lifestyle.
So, what do you guys think?
Thank goodness we changed to Royal Ceramic tiles, like mother, like daughter.
Royal Ceramics, finish in style.
Sore throats?
It's often caused by bacteria and viruses. Feels like they're having a party. You need Strepsils. It soothes the pain, plus it fights the germs with 2 germ-killing actives. Double power in 1 lozenge. Bye-bye.
Congratulates members-elect of the 9th National Assembly over their victory at the polls. As it is customary, the National Assembly is organizing an orientation program for members-elect of the 9th National Assembly. The program is aimed at acquainting new members with their expected roles and responsibilities, as well as parliamentary practices and procedures. It will also serve as a refresher course for returning members. The program is scheduled to hold at Congress Hall, Transcorp Hilton, Abuja, in 2 batches as follows. Batch A, 31st March to 5th April 2019. Batch B, 7th to 12th April 2019. All new and returning members are requested to commence online documentation on www.nas.newmembersdocumentation.org. Furthermore, members-elect of the 9th National Assembly are requested to check national dailies on Tuesday, 19th March 2019 to identify the relevant badges. M.A. Sani Omolori, Clerk to the National Assembly. Announcer.
From our wonderful family, meet Patty for celebrating the high points of life with friends. And then there's me, Jolly, bringing nourishment to every gathering. Packed with healthy nutrition, nourishing vitamins, power of protein, strength of calcium, revitalizing energy. Hollandia yogurt is bursting with goodness inside and out. Hollandia yogurt, it's all good. Hollandia.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Thanks for joining us again. Lagos is next with an update on the collapsed building at Ita Faji, and Ingunu is our guide. Ingunu, any good news in relation to the ongoing rescue efforts?
Thank you, Joseph. We have new developments. The collapsed 3-story building at Ita Faji, Lagos Island, has been leveled with some construction companies assisting in the evacuation of the debris. Paul Omukago visited the disaster scene and filed this report.
This is what the 3-story building looked like before it collapsed. What is left of it is the debris from the scene. Incident Commander, Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASEMA, Additional Tiamiyu, briefed the media on the rescue operations. He urged Nigerians to discountenance casualty figures in the social media as it is yet to be ascertained.
I am aware that, yes, some people were taken to Island General Hospital, but from there, their case was determined, and some of them were moved to Gobi, some were taken to Bagada General Hospital, some were even taken to private hospital nearby.
Some security officials and engineers also react.
At least we've been able to bring out about 53 people.
Why we are here today is to take samples of some of these materials used in the construction of this building.
We have a lot of buildings. They are old, it is true. They are getting weak, it is true, but it doesn't mean that they should collapse. And this collapses, it's a failure in the controls that we see that is causing so much loss of life and property.
The debris from the scene was evacuated by a team of construction firms in Lagos. In Lagos, Paul Omukago, NTA News.
A federal government delegation from the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, visited the scene to ascertain level of search and rescue carried out so far. Director Search and Rescue NEMA, Air Commodore Akugbe Iyamu, led the team. Paul Omukago again tells us more.
Director Search and Rescue NEMA, Air Commodore Akugbe Iyamu, says the visit is to ascertain the extent of rescue and also to assure family members of survivors of government commitment in getting them stabilized.
Coming here, we have been monitoring this since yesterday, and the NEMA team was on ground. You see, they supported by all other stakeholders. See the great job that they did, and having done that, having finished the physical aspect of it, we have now come to say the people that are in the hospital, the people that were injured, how do we intervene now? It's very critical. It has to be done very, very early.
Air Commodore Iyamu was also at the General Hospital to see some of the survivors in company of the head of service, Lagos State.
They're being managed properly. You went round. They're all in stable condition and they are being managed. I'm sure sooner than later most of them will be going home.
Information I gathered, all the children that were rescued alive, all of them, we have not had any fatality from any of those children, and they are responding tremendously well to treatment.
Meanwhile, a list of survivors in the General Hospital is on display. In Lagos, Paul Umukago, NTA News.
That's our latest update on the collapsed building, where we keep following the story. It's now back to Joseph in Abuja.
Still staying with the collapsed building story, the All Progressives Congress has expressed shock and sadness over Wednesday's collapse of a building housing a school and residential units in Ita Faji area of Lagos State, which led to several deaths and injuries, particularly among children. In a statement by the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Lanre Onilu, the APC sympathizes with the families of victims and prays for the speedy recovery of those injured. Commiserating with the government and people of Lagos State over the sad incident, the party is worried that the frequency of these building collapse and its attendant human casualties has become abnormal. The party therefore urged relevant regulatory authorities across the country to do all that is necessary to prevent a reoccurrence of these avoidable building collapses. Similarly, President Muhammadu Buhari has commiserated with the government, people and families of those who lost their lives in the tanker accident on Wednesday in Anambra State. The president, while urging hospitals to give the survivors adequate medical attention, prayed God to give the families of the departed the fortitude to bear the loss and quick recovery to those injured. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari is convinced that the end of HIV and AIDS as a public health threat in Nigeria by the year 2030 is truly in sight. This was while announcing the results of the Nigeria AIDS Indicator and Impact Survey, which estimated the number of persons living with HIV in Nigeria has significantly reduced by 1.9 million. State House correspondent Adamawa reports.
It is indeed an important day in Nigeria's HIV response as President Muhammadu Buhari announces the result of the largest HIV-specific population-based survey in the world and presents to the public the revised National HIV/AIDS 3-year strategic framework. This is to serve as strategic template and proper guidance towards eliminating AIDS in Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari said the survey and its result have come at the right time when his administration is commencing the full implementation of the National Health Act aimed at ensuring that every Nigerian has access to comprehensive health services.
I am delighted that these more accurate figures indicate that fewer Nigerians are affected by HIV. However, we cannot celebrate yet, as almost 1 million Nigerians living with HIV are currently not on treatment. Now that we have data that will help us target for impact, I urge all of us not to relent in this fight, but to increase the momentum in a concerted effort to end the epidemic ahead of 2030.
While welcoming the move by the Nigerian private sector to establish a national HIV trust fund, the president directed the Federal Ministry of Health and NACA to consult widely and build consensus with key stakeholders to chart a new strategic path towards ending AIDS.
The end of AIDS as a public health threat by 2030 is truly in sight for our country. Let us therefore work collectively and push for the last mile.
Both the Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Adewole, and the Director General of NACA, Dr. Sania Liu, are optimistic that the battle against HIV is almost won in view of the renewed commitment to the collective vision of an AIDS-free Nigeria with zero new infections as well as related discrimination and stigma.
We are confident that with excellent initiatives approved by Your Excellency, like the Saving 1 Million Lives initiative, the Basic Care Provision Fund, we will be able to cushion the effect of the disease through the provision of free antenatal care, PMTCT to pregnant women, in addition to other services.
I am confident more than I've ever been that the HIV problem in Nigeria can be resolved. We can clearly see light at the end of the tunnel now.
There were goodwill messages from the UNAIDS and the United States government.
We have a window of opportunity to control the AIDS epidemic under your leadership, Mr. President.
And I believe that the release of the survey today by you, Your Excellency, is a sign of the commitment at the highest levels and will lead to renewed efforts to make a final push to end HIV in Nigeria.
Highlights of the ceremony was the presentation of awards to those who distinguished themselves in the survey project as well as the battle against HIV/AIDS in Nigeria. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Nigeria has gone down 2 steps on the ladder of countries with high HIV prevalence rates globally. Now the country is on the 4th position below South Africa, India and Mozambique. This is contained in the just released results of Nigeria HIV and AIDS Indicator and Impact Survey. Chimdimandu BC tells us more about the findings of the survey.
For now, the estimation was that 3 million Nigerians are living with HIV, but findings of the just released Nigeria AIDS and HIV Indicator and Impact Survey say otherwise. 1.9 million persons are now said to be living with the virus. The prevalence rate has equally gone down to 1.4% from 3.4% in 2014. The survey, completed within record time of 9 months, shows that 7 states of Abia, Taraba, Benue, Enugu, Anambra, Akwa Ibom and Rivers have the highest prevalence rates, with Akwa Ibom leading the pack. According to geopolitical zone distribution, South-South has the highest number of persons living with HIV, while the Northeast records lower rates. By gender, more women are estimated to be infected with the virus at the rate of 1.9% than men, which stands at 0.9%.
On the back of the survey, we have a huge repository of samples that we use to test not just for HIV, but test for other infectious diseases.
The result of this survey will now be utilized to guide HIV/AIDS response in Nigeria, and as well as intervention in terms of treatment, in terms of promoting prevention strategies.
As a result of this test, the survey that was done, a lot of number of people are also put on treatment, and now we are on fast tracking, test and start, and I'm sure in the next couple of months to come, the number will also increase.
The United States President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief committed $70 million. The Global Fund, $20 million, while Nigeria provided technical support for the study considered as the largest HIV-specific population survey globally. In Abuja, Chimdema Ndubisi, NTA News.
Still talking health matters, wife of the President Aisha Muhammad Buhari has emphasized on the need for pregnant women to make themselves available for HIV tests in order to guard against mother-to-child transmission of the virus in Nigeria. State House correspondent Aliyu Kabir reports that Mrs. Buhari has also been reappointed as UNAIDS Special Ambassador for the elimination of mother-to-child transmission of HIV in Nigeria.
The appointment of the wife of the President, Aisha Muhammad Buhari, as the UNAIDS Special Ambassador for the elimination of mother-to-child transmission of HIV in Nigeria came in following the expiry of the first tenure. Mrs. Buhari was given another one-year term to strengthen the advocacy. The conferment was effective with a visit of the high-powered delegation of the Joint United Nations Programme on HIV and AIDS, led by the Executive Dr. Michelle Sidivi, to the State House.
Deciding that you will be our ambassador for mother-to-child, stopping the transmission from mother to the children, and also promoting the treatment of children living with HIV is certainly one of the most important appointments we have been able to do.
While receiving the certificate of appointment, the wife of the president promised to redouble her effort towards the campaign, particularly the promotion of treatment for children living with HIV. Mrs. Buhari called on all stakeholders, including the government, to remain key players in the fight against the epidemic.
I wish also to make an emphatic call on all women in this country to test for HIV when they are pregnant or expecting. This will be one sure way of ensuring that those women who are living with HIV can receive treatment and give birth to children free of HIV in Nigeria. Finally, I wish to assure you of my total commitment to create awareness on HIV-related issues, advocate for more support at different levels, and also to ensure the integration of HIV services into maternal and child health programs in Nigeria.
From the State House, Aliyu Kabir, NTA News.
And a non-governmental organization is partnering the Nigerian Television Authority to raise the bar of awareness on tuberculosis management. The group, known as Breakthrough Action Nigeria, paid a courtesy call on the management of the NTA in this regard. Alika Okpanachi Arua reports.
Tuberculosis is listed as one of the 5 deadly diseases afflicting vulnerable groups, especially women and children. It begins with a simple cough, but can lead to other respiratory complications or result to death if not properly managed. The World Health Organization estimates that tuberculosis, or TB for short, accounts for the 9th leading causes of death globally. To check the trend, health managers say awareness is very critical. It is for this reason that a non-governmental organization known as Breakthrough Action Nigeria is visiting the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA.
Let people know that when they are coughing of 2 weeks or more, they need to visit this healthcare facility so that they can quickly be investigated if they have this disease. And for those who have the disease, the drugs are there. All of these have been provided totally free. And one good thing about TB is that TB is treatable, TB is curable.
Mr. Wale Koka, who received the guest on behalf of the NTA management, told the delegation that sensitization of the public on matters of national interest is one of the core values of the NTA.
Our job is to ensure that Nigeria survives, and Nigeria's survival depends on the people in it surviving. We on our own will do our part.
Officer in charge of tuberculosis says the partnership is part of a week-long program of activities lined up ahead of this year's World Tuberculosis Day, scheduled for March the 24th. In Abuja, Alika Okpanachi Arua, NTA News.
In other news, the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Abuja this Thursday granted access to President Muhammadu Buhari and his party, the All Progressives Congress, to inspect the materials used during the February 23 presidential election. The Justice Abdul Aboki three-man tribunal granted the 2 prayers of President Buhari and the All Progressives Congress brought before it through separate ex parte applications. In their applications, President Buhari and his party urged the tribunal to grant them access to the materials to enable them to defend themselves in any petition which the runner-up in the poll, Atiku Abubakar, and the People's Democratic Party have vowed to challenge. The tribunal in their rulings made the order permitting them to carry out the inspection of the electoral materials and obtain the certified through copies of the documents from INEC. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, has called for closer collaboration and synergy of all members of the Inter-Ministerial Committee for a successful presidential inauguration come May 29th, 2019. He stated this at the inauguration of the committee members in Abuja. Ahmed reports.
The 2019 presidential election is over and the government of President Muhammadu Buhari is set to usher in a befitting transition program. This informed the need to put in place an efficient interministerial committee to handle the task. The committee, chaired by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, is charged with the mandate of planning, organizing and executing all approved activities for the 2019 presidential inauguration in May.
Any organization or organizations, person or persons relevant towards the successful execution of the program. Document for posterity all planned activities for the inauguration. And lastly, carry out any other assignment that might be required towards the successful implementation of the program.
Other members of the committee are Ministers of Information and Culture, Defense, Health, as well as Foreign Affairs, among others. Behind me here, the closed-door meeting of the Interministerial Committee is taking place. The meeting is to harmonize all ideas for a successful outing come May 29, 2019. Ahmed, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has felicitated with the former Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Alhaji Idi Mohammed Farouk, on his 70th birthday. President Buhari, who joins all members of the All Progressives Congress APC to celebrate the party stalwart, described Mohammed Farouk as someone whose many achievements in both the public and private sectors have brought him into limelight, particularly his contributions to human and community development over the years. As he turns a septuagenarian, the president commends Mohammed Farouk's steadfastness, loyalty and sacrifices in bringing the governing party to where it is today. President Buhari praised Almighty God to grant him long life, good health and more wisdom to keep serving the nation. The federal government has started another strategic drive to avoid the looming mortification for Nigeria in the global rating of open defecation. To this end, a national stakeholders retreat to end open defecation in the country is underway in Abuja. Musbao Danwahab reports.
Aside the glowing scenery of Abuja, a fast-growing city and other major cities in Nigeria, there is another picture of unhealthy practice around the country, open defecation. 47 million Nigerians still do this. An unfortunate record that has ranked Nigeria as the first in Africa and second behind India in the global ranking of open defecation. Worse still, with rigorous efforts, India is on the verge of leaving the top spot for Nigeria by October 2019.
As a country that prides itself as the giant of Africa, this is certainly not a good image.
Thank you very much. Please. A Nigerian delegation just back from India to study the country's sanitation program brings hope of possibilities of ending the scourge in Nigeria. Now, this retreat aims to identify the right approach and how to mobilize support and resources for the campaign.
India made it with $22 billion. Nigeria will need less than $1.5 billion.
We are soliciting for political prioritization of sanitation.
Development partners can key in and there can be significant support in terms of training and manpower development.
As of now, only 10 out of the 774 local government areas in Nigeria are open defecation free. But then, With various programs already in motion, Nigeria has set a target of 2025 ahead of the SDG's 2030 deadline to end open defecation. In Abuja, Musbau and Wahab, NTA News.
The Nigeria Immigration Service has installed a system called MIDAS in about 84 points that will improve monitoring of the country's borders to check the influx of illegal migrants. Minister of Interior Abdurrahman Dambazao stated this when course 12 participants of the Institute for Security Studies Lower Usuma Dam visited him in his office in Abuja. Francis Fom reports.
For some time now, Nigeria has been grappling with security challenges ranging from communal conflicts, insurgency, and that of farmers and herders clashes. The Minister of Interior says monitoring alone cannot deal with the security challenges, but that the government has developed a modern capacity facilities that will help in addressing the emerging challenges.
The issue of transhumance, it's a complex situation that requires a lot of information. It's with this information that policies will emanate.
This visit by members of course 12 participants of the Institute for Security Studies is part of efforts to finding lasting solutions to the impending security challenges in the country.
And all our efforts to ensure that we have peace everywhere in the country, and particularly one of the agenda of the present government is to ensure security of lives and property.
With the team, transhuman and international migration, challenges of governance, peace and sustainable development in sub-Saharan Africa, the 9-month course by the Institute of Security Studies is a platform for deliberation on the future of effective security strategy for national peace and development. The visit coincided with the 65th birthday of the Interior Minister. In Abuja, Francis Fom, NTA News.
Relations between Nigeria and Sao Tome and Principe is one that has brought many opportunities and advantages to both countries. Hence, the need to consolidate upon becomes imminent. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Communities for the Democratic Republic of Sao Tome and Principe, Elsa Pinto, reiterated this during the signing of the production sharing contract for joint development zone block 7, 8 and 11 between Nigeria, Sao Tome and Principe Joint Development Authority and Total Nigeria in Abuja. Oyemi Ajayi reports.
The Nigeria and Sao Tome and Principe Joint Development Authority, JDA, was established to settle the existing maritime dispute between both countries. With the overlapping boundaries between both countries around the coastal areas, the involvement of JDA becomes important to oversee activities in the zone. With the initial signing of the Joint Development Zone Treaty in 2001 for the management and exploitation of petroleum and other natural resources in the zone, it becomes necessary to sign a new agreement to take a step further. This gives Total Exploration and Production the exploration rights of some of the oil blocks 7, 8 and 11.
The treaty that links us with Nigeria has now completed 20 years. Is of our proposal to assure our proposed and interest.
Since the JDA was established in January 2002, it has held 2 licensing rounds, which culminated into the award of 6 blocks.
Under the agreement, Nigeria will be having 60% of the shares, while Sao Tome and Principe gets 40%. And as expected, the impact of these is quite huge for both countries.
Some resources that we're all going to share for the both countries, for the nationals of our countries, and the well-being of this country, and the stability and growth of the 2 nations.
Most of the investment will be the cost of the work program, i.e. the seismic acquisition. The investment is over $10 million.
This agreement is expected to elicit more interest and confidence of prospective investors, as well as consolidate the existing cordial relationship between Nigeria and Sao Tome and Principe. In Abuja, Oyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
Another break, Bacons, but when we come back, business news. Stay with us.
Activate your life, be who you want to be. Yeah, yeah. Time to get active. Yes, the time is now. Now, now, now. Come on, get active. Oh, yeah. Yes, you can do it if you try. Come on.
Start an active life with the power of vegetables and fruits. Chivita Active. Be active. Do more.
Here you go.
Madam.
That's it. Those naira are enough.
Hi, dear. Helen, you got so much even after spending so little.
Savings is such a necessity.
You save everywhere, but here, you lose it all.
How?
With this?
Impossible.
New Tika Apic 10X. Even after applying up to 1 liter of your solution multiple times, you won't get the same cleaning that Apic gives you in a single round.
And the expense?
Far less compared to your 1 liter of solution. New Tika Apic. Top in cleaning,
top in savings.
It's now time to talk business, and Comfort Amodu is here with me. Comfort, good to see you.
Hello, Joseph. Good to see you.
All right.
Now, more attention is being drawn to sensitizing Nigerian consumers on the most potent mechanism for protecting themselves from being shortchanged by product and service providers. That was brought to the fore at the maiden edition of the Consumer Protection Conference in Abuja, organized by the Save the Consumers Initiative. And it is part of activities to mark this year's World Consumer Rights Day. Production of goods and services is paramount in the economic growth and development of the nation, however, not without challenges.
Because of poor consumer education and poor consumer services, Nigerian life expectancy ratio remains disheartening.
Then, until we get to a point where those who provide the things we use or the services we take advantage of recognize that consumer protection and customer care is not a department. It is not ancillary to their business. It is the very core of what they do.
The 2019 Consumer Protection Conference, the first of its kind, seeks to educate consumers on the best way to handle massive exploitation they suffer from service providers and how to modify such behavior. And in the equities market, trades closed today on a negative note as the Nigerian Stock Exchange All Shares Index declined by 0.48% to close at 31,210.79 basis points, as against 0.15% appreciation recorded previously. Its yet-to-date return currently stands at minus 0.70%. Market breadth closed negative as Dangote Flour led 8 gainers as against 20 losers, topped by Len Africa at the end of today's closing session. Joseph, exactly is not an improvement of the previous performance, you know.
Oh, yeah, I was just about to say, is that all? Pretty fast. Thank you very much, Comfort. All right, the economic survival of over 500 million people in the Gulf of Guinea region has been consistently threatened by illegal activities and pollution. Tackling this challenge is the focus of Exercise Obangame Express being hosted by Nigeria. Dr. Ogunyemi reports that the ceremony was declared open by the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas.
The exchange of handshakes by naval representatives of participating countries symbolizes the aim of the exercise, cooperation for mutual benefit. The focus of Exercise Obangame has been to counter illegal activities in the Gulf of Guinea and protect maritime assets.
We all share a deep sense of encouragement from your devotion and determination to entrench peace and order on our maritime commons.
Obangame Express encourages the maintenance of a common maritime awareness
to support energy security, to counter piracy, to combat illegal fishing, and to counter illicit trafficking.
The Chief of Naval Staff thereafter proceeded to NNS Beecroft, where he inaugurated a maritime awareness training school, a result of partnership between the United States and Nigeria, which was signed in 2015. In Lagos, Dotun Ogunyemi, NTA News.
Guests on NTA's current affairs program, Moment for Thought, are advocating right political culture with active participation of the citizenry to mainstream real development in the country. Well, they believe that Nigeria stands to gain more with right attitude and approach to governance.
There is so much wastage of resources that God has given us. And millions of Nigerians support the issue of the fight against corruption.
Once you are able to fight corruption substantially, you'll be able to achieve those objectives of democracy.
The program comes up tonight at 11:30 on the NTA network servers. Let's quickly take another break. We are back in just a moment. Let's get you stories from around the world now. 2 black boxes from the ill-fated Ethiopian Airlines Boeing 737 MAX airplane arrive Paris for experts' analysis. Let's join Uche Ugochukwu for stories on the global scene.
Welcome. Boeing has grounded its entire global fleet of 737 MAX aircraft after investigators uncovered new evidence at the scene of the Ethiopian Airlines crash. The U.S. plane maker said it would suspend all 371 of the aircraft. The Federal Aviation Administration said fresh evidence as well as newly refined satellite data prompted the decision to temporarily ban the jets. Meanwhile, 2 black boxes from the Boeing 737 MAX airplane that crashed in Ethiopia arrived Paris on Thursday for expert analysis. In Africa, lawmakers in Kenya are outraged that the government has spent about $35 million on building a 10-kilometer wire fence along the border with Somalia to block militant Islamists from crossing over. After details of the spending came out in an official report tabled in the National Assembly on Wednesday, the lawmakers believe that people within Kenya's security ministries have taken advantage of the threat posed by the Somali-headquartered Al-Shabaab group to steal public money. And the Democratic Republic of Congo's newly elected president, Felix Tshisekedi, has pardoned 700 political prisoners in what is seen as a major gesture of reconciliation since he took over office in the troubled nation in January. The 700 were imprisoned during the rule of his predecessor, Joseph Kabila, who refused to release them despite a deal struck with the opposition in 2015. That's it for now. Stay tuned for the rest of the news.
Now let's talk sports. Team Office of the Surveyor General of the Federation, rewarded in Abuja for outstanding performance in FEBSGA, has 4 English Premier League teams qualify for UEFA Champions League. Quarter-final, Ayodeji Makinde is our guide on sports update.
Team Office of the Surveyor General of the Federation has been rewarded for their outstanding performance at the 2018 Federation of Public Service Games in Lokoja after their dominance of the swimming events. Surveyor General of the Federation, Ebesente Awudu, who gave the commendation while hosting the team in Abuja, assured them of adequate support and early preparation ahead of the 2019 edition of the Games.
What Inform are doing is to encourage my staff so that we will all be able to work on the same frequency.
The FCT Football Association has assured on the implementation of resolutions of a one-day seminar for coaches referees and players, which aims at improving the organization and management of teams beyond the current practice. Participants were also taken through the laws of football ahead of the 2019 State League in Abuja.
If they get the right training and they get the right exposure and the materials and the people that are supposed to support them, they will raise the level of FCT sports and make it one of the best in Nigeria.
The quarter-final draw of the UEFA Champions League is set for Nyon, Switzerland on Friday after Liverpool edged out Bayern Munich to make it a quartet of English Premier League teams in the last 8 for the first time in 10 years as Barcelona eased past Olympique Lyonnais. With sports updates, Ayodeji, Makinde, NTA News.
Let's now take a look at the weather forecast.
A warm welcome to the weekend forecast. I am Paul Ugba. We've seen a mixed bag of dusty weather over the north, which has reduced horizontal visibility, and rains over the south between Wednesday afternoon and Thursday morning. Let's now see what Friday holds for us in terms of weather. We expect to see more dust into the extreme northern part, which will affect horizontal visibility and keep it in the range of 2 to 5 kilometers, locally less than 1,000 meters in 1 or 2 places. Moving towards the central and southern parts, we expect to see partly cloudy to cloudy skies with a 30% probability of thunderstorms over places around Eket, Uyo, and Calabar. As we progress into the afternoon and evening hours, there are higher prospects for thunderstorms over the southern region and thundery activities over the central states. The north is, however, expected to remain in dust haze conditions. Next is our temperature forecast. Please stand by, and thanks for watching.
And now you know how your weather will look like on Friday. And that's it on the news tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Joseph Johnson. Good night.